So you've got some family photos that you want to make some retouching changes on. So in this image, I want to do a little bit with the healing brush. I've got a power line that doesn't look attractive, and I want to get rid of that. And there's a couple little small things. There's a little tear down here in the lower left-hand corner. I'm actually going to start with that. So I'm going to zoom in using some keyboard shortcuts, which we've covered. And I want to fix this little area right here. Now there's many retouching tools in Photoshop. Where are they all? Well, they're over here in the toolbox, and you're going to find that there's a spot healing brush, a patch tool, a Redeye tool. There's several tools in here. There's even a content aware move tool. To use that, you really have to have something sort of on a solid background, and then you can move something from point A to point B. It works out quite well. I don't need to move anything today, but I do want to do a little bit with the healing brush. And that's going to fix this area right here. But you can't just use the healing brush. You've got to load the brush first. Think of it kind of like a rubber stamp. You have to ink it first. Okay? So we have to fill this tool with some good pixels first. So that's what this little message says when you try to use it. It says you have to Alt-click. If you're on a Mac, you'll Option-click. And you have to define a source point. Okay. So that means what I want to do is I want to fix this. So I need an appropriate brush size. So I'm going to go a little bit smaller, and that should work. And then these are some good pixels that I can use. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and I'm going to click on these good pixels right here. Then when I come over here, I can actually paint right over top of this. Right there. Now, notice how I'm getting into kind of an area where it doesn't look so nice? It's because it's starting to blend in with that white. So I'll just do an undo. Okay, Control Z is your friend when you're doing retouching. So again, I'm going to Alt-click over here, make sure it's loaded with some good pixels, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to stop when it gets kind of close. And then I'll come back in and revisit a little bit. Now to really get that edge, I probably need to do some clone stamping as well. So let me show you how that works. In your toolbox, you have a clone stamp. The clone stamp works on the same premise. You have to load it first, so I'm going to Alt-click, and then I can come over and just click over top of these pixels, and it clones right over top of it. Just like that. Come out a little bit further. This can always be cropped away, this white border, so I'm not too concerned about it. If I was, I could always come out here and Alt-click out here, and then come in and get a little closer on that edge. So I could be really super careful, and I could zoom in and spend a whole lot of time. I've seen retouchers zoom in and spend weeks on one image. All right, so that looks pretty good. There's like a little fold right here, so I want to fix that. So again, I'll Alt-click, and I'm just going to drag right over top of it. Now when I get close to the edge, I run into the same problem. So I'll Alt-click again, and I'll get a little closer to the edge, kind of like that. That looks pretty good. So I just work my way around the document, finding all kinds of things to fix like that, like the power line. I find some good pixels, Alt-click, and I can come in and I can literally just wipe away that power line. There it goes. And there are leaves. Of course, there's going to be light areas and dark areas. So I'll just come over here. Now when I get closer to the edge, I want to be a little careful. I don't want to end up with white. If I come over here, I start to get white. So again, I'll just grab some of these leaves over here, Alt-click, and then I can come in and just kind of be a little careful on the edge. And now I've gotten rid of that power line. Never knew it was there. Now I could probably also go in and grab these little power lines here as well. So it's great to be able to use the healing brush in that manner. Now, the spot healing brush works a little bit differently. I go over to a different image. With this image, I can see there's a few little spots that I want to work on. It's not really a brush where it's a long power line, but if I look at this photograph and I zoom in, I can see that there's all these little white marks. In fact, there's even birthmark right there that you may or may not want to get rid of. So how do I fix all of these? Well, I switch over to the spot healing tool, the spot healing brush. And again, that brush is way too big. Left square bracket, and I'm just going to click on it. That's it. I don't have to load this one like I did the other one. So I can just come in and just click. If I want to get rid of that beauty mark, I can click. There's another little blemish right here. Click. And I can continue through the document. I use the space bar for the hand tool while I'm working, so I don't have to keep going back over to the toolbox. Now, I'm not going to do every single little white mark in here. That's one of those things that would take hours and you'd be incredibly bored. But you get the idea. Is all you have to do is get the appropriate size brush, a little smaller, and click, and click. And that's the spot healing brush. It's when you want to deal with spots. Now, the patch tool is great when you have patches of areas to fix. This is a photograph of, again, my mom. And here's a big area right here that's not looking so good. And if I take the patch tool, what I can do is draw a selection around what I want to fix. So I can just start up here, and it doesn't even have to be a very good selection. Kind of come right around there. I don't want to grab any of that lovely couch from when I was a kid. But now I can just drag this over here. And again, I can kind of watch and see if it makes sense. When I let go, it's fixed. Control D. If I want to fix the couch, same thing. I remember this couch. While I make the selection, it was the most uncomfortable couch to hang out and watch TV on. Again, I'd probably get in and zoom in a little closer and fine-tune that selection, but now I can bring this over here and try to get it to match. Now, with patterns, it can be a little bit more difficult. So you try to get it to match. I think that's pretty close. I got a little bit of the wall up there. I'd go back in and tweak that a little bit more, but now I deselect. All right, so I'd zoom in and do a little bit more fine work in there. Remember, global, then local. So that's how you can use the patch tool. There's a little bit more down here on her arm. I'd probably go and fix that as well. But again, when you take a look at the overall picture, I could even fix this sort of wear spots on the couch that might be a little distracting. I also want to show you the clone stamp. Now, we took a look at that a few minutes ago, but this is a really good example of some image that you would want to spend a lot of time on. And in here, we've got a lot of curtains. So again, I could probably use for the big parts some of the patch tools to work on things, but the clone stamp would also work on different areas. So again, with the clone stamp, again, I'll take a look at my aunt's hair right here. And with the clone stamp, I'd want to fill with some good pixels. So Alt-click, and then kind of fill in. Again, watching, it's hard to point to it, but there's a little plus sign that follows me. See if I can get it there. You can kind of see it there. It's sort of, if you look at my brush, it's sort of in the lower left of the brush, and that's basically where it's grabbing those from. So as I get close to here, it's going to go outside of her hair. So I just want to Alt-click again, and I'll start over here. And now it's going to stay within the boundaries of her hair, so I can kind of fix things up a little bit. All right, so that is the clone stamp, and that image, if I had this image for myself to work on, this would be a 2.5, 3 hour, 4 hour project to get this looking perfect. So it's not something you do quickly. One last one, Redeye. How do you fix Redeye? Here's an image of one of my favorite people, and terrible case of Redeye. So what I want to do is I will use the Redeye tool right here. And this is ridiculously easy. All I have to do is come over to the Redeye and click on it. Yep, that's all you have to do. 2 clicks and your Redeye is fixed. When I zoom back out, I have a beautiful picture of one of my favorite people in the world. So there you go. Those are some of the retouching tools. Okay, the healing brush for like power lines and things like that. The spot healing brush for blemishes and beauty marks if you want to get rid of them, or little dust particles. The patch tool when you have an area that you want to fix and you have a good area to go to. You've got your clone stamp where it basically picks up pixels from here and puts them over here. And then my favorite, the Redeye tool.